Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to my Facebook Live little roll streak that I've got happening here. I'm just about to head out for the night, but I thought I'd quickly jump on and do a little bit of a Facebook Live because I've had something on my heart. Literally woke me up last night before I literally was so exhausted and I was about to go to sleep, and I had my head on the pillow and I was lying down and I was so ready to just conk out and just become unconscious for 8 hours. And hey Mark, how you going? And this idea came to me and it was like, you've got to talk about conscious expansion. And I grabbed a notebook and pen, as I usually do when I get woken up by these ideas that I'm so grateful for. Like, I don't ever want to sound ungrateful for the incredible downloads and like sparks of inspiration that I get, but they just come at the most inconvenient times sometimes. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but yeah, definitely sometimes annoying when you get woken up or ideas come to you right before you want to go to sleep. But this is something that, yeah, I really want to talk about, which is conscious expansion. And it's this idea that we are constantly growing and changing and evolving if we let ourselves and if we allow ourselves. So basically the whole underlying core belief behind this theory is that the universe is continuously expanding. So ever since the formation of the universe, however many millions and trillions and billions of years ago, it's been constantly expanding, and science has proven this, and they don't actually know when it's going to stop, and it's accelerating. The rate at which it's expanding is actually accelerating. So to me, the reflection of that expansion is reflected in humans, because we're made up of the same stuff as the universe. Therefore, if the nature of the universe is to expand and progress and evolve, then it makes sense that we would do the same. Our natural instinct or our natural genetic makeup would cause us to do the same. And so this idea that we are constantly evolving and expanding, unfortunately, a lot of us, I think we come up against these blocks, because what happens when we expand is that we experience these things, and I like to call them growing pains, and it's really freaking painful, because what happens is our ideas about ourselves are challenged and changed by new information that's coming in. So we walk around with this specific idea of the world, this specific idea of ourselves and how we relate to other people, and new information is constantly becoming available to us. And we can choose to take on that information and run with it and expand because of it, or we can keep blocking it out. And for those of us that have chosen this path or this journey, whether you want to call it the journey to enlightenment or the spiritual path, or just to be a growing, evolving human being, we come up against we're constantly learning, because that's obviously a lot of us that are really dedicated to this path are constantly hungry for information. I don't know if you guys can resonate with that, but I am a lifelong learner. I am so hungry for just knowledge about certain topics. There's some topics that I'm more interested in than others, but if you get me on a roll with a specific topic like spirituality and mental health, for example, spirituality and anything, I'm fascinated. I will completely I'll absorb as much information as I can about a particular topic. So what happens is that we start absorbing all this information, and not only through reading, but through observation as well, just through living our lives. We're constantly coming up against new situations and going into new circumstances, and they're changing the way that we view the world, and changing sometimes they change what we thought we knew. But sometimes that process can actually be really painful, because it's challenging who we think we are, and it's challenging our identity. And that's what I like to call growing pains. So we could be on a roll, we're conscious, we're expanding, we're growing, and then all of a sudden things start to go, it seems that things start to go pear-shaped. It looks a little bit, from the outside looking in, it looks like things are starting to fall apart, and you start to get this little bit of resistance coming up around it. It's almost like this fear kicks in, and maybe a little bit of anxiety. And a lot of people mistake that for, oh my gosh, I'm going down the wrong path. Oh my gosh, this is not for me. Oh my gosh, I need to stop doing that, which is the biggest, it's such a detriment to our own growth and evolution, because that feeling and that sign is just a sign that you're on the right track, and that you're actually going into uncharted territory that's actually really important for your growth and evolution right now. So one of my favorite quotes is by Stephen Pressfield, and if you haven't read his book, The War of Art, I highly recommend it for creatives, for entrepreneurs, for anyone that is just a conscious human, basically. And he talks about, he says, the more important task or act is to our soul's evolution, the more resistance we will feel towards pursuing it. And when I first heard that, it was like hit me smack bang between the eyes. I was like, oh my gosh, because I have so often found that when I'm about to do something that's like going to put me outside my comfort zone or is going to be like really big, I feel this weight, and it's almost like this force or this energy just comes in and tries to do everything it can to stop me from doing this one particular thing. I literally today, and this is an everyday thing, this is not something that I've overcome, this is not something that I'm like, this is an everyday battle for me against resistance and against this force that wants to stop us from doing what we're meant to do in the world. And it manifests in all these different ways. It manifests as like procrastination, it manifests as distraction, it manifests as like addiction, like all of these different things that are designed to distract us and to take us off course from what it is that we're really meant to be doing. I was meant to film a YouTube video today, and this is just keeping it totally real, guys. Like, I have not mastered this stuff at all. I'm just like learning about it and like taking it on board as much as I can, all along with like everyone else on the planet right now. So yeah, today I was meant to film a YouTube video for my channel about everyday spirituality. I faced this resistance that was freaking insane. Like I actually, so my housemates just moved out of our house because we're moving apartments this week or next week. And so she's moved all her stuff out. So instead of sitting down to film this video and doing my hair and makeup and getting ready to film, I switched our rooms. I literally took all of the furniture from my bedroom and put it into her bedroom because her bedroom is slightly bigger. And my justification was, I want to be in the bigger bedroom for the next like week and a half that we're going to be in this house. So this is the kind of extent that my like subconscious and my resistance tries to sabotage me, right? And it's fine, like it's totally fine. I accept everything as it is. I'm not going to beat myself up about it because there's absolutely like guilt is the most unproductive emotion on the planet. Like there's no like, honestly, there's no point in beating myself up about it. I'm just going to say, okay, look, I'll try again tomorrow. And that's really all that we can do with resistance is say, okay, you beat me today, but I'm going to try again tomorrow. And that's all that we can really do. But becoming like consciously aware of it is a big thing. What I also wanted to talk about, so yeah, being really aware of like when you're growing and when you're expanding and when you're moving into like new terrains of like, this is what's possible for my life and new levels of like success and joy and happiness, just being really aware that you're going to face this resistance and you're going to face these growing pains, and not to see them as signs to like stop or to shrink or to contract, but to see them as signs that you're on the right path. Like the fact that I faced that resistance today and it was like so hardcore and it was so like poignant, makes me like, it's like a little red flag for me now that says that like that video is even more important than I could have ever imagined, that I need to publish that video because there's someone that needs to see it. That video is going to change things for someone's life and it's going to change things for me. And I see resistance now as like a little it's like a little light bulb or like a warning signal saying, okay, when you do this, it's going to change shit up, right? It's going to it's really important. It's even more important than you can think right now for your soul's growth and evolution and for people around you. And I think I've written about this on Instagram before. It's like the ego steps in and tries to stop you from doing what you're meant to do because it knows and it fears its own death, right? Because the more that we're growing and the more that we're expanding and the more that we're acting on the guidance and the knowledge of our higher self and our intuition, the more that the ego is challenged because we're not listening to it anymore. We're not listening to that fear voice. We're not listening to that little voice inside our head that's telling us that we're not good enough, that we can't do it. We're actually listening to the murmurs of our soul that are telling us that like we are infinite and reminding us of our incredible power and our incredible potential that we have, like, yeah, that we have the power to realize. So yeah, just getting really conscious of the fact that resistance is going to pop up. Another thing I wanted to talk about was like upper limits. So this like ties into the whole conscious expansion topic. If you haven't read Gay Hendricks' book, The Big Leap, I've got it written down here. So Gay Hendricks, The Big Leap, the cover has like a little fish jumping out of a bowl, if you need to look for it online. But basically what Gay talks about is that, and if you guys have heard of this, like let me know if you've read the book like and you loved it or you hated it or whatever, just let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. But basically Gay talks about this theory or this whatever called the upper limit problem. And what it means is that there is a limit of joy, success, happiness, whatever, good feelings basically, that each of us can tolerate before we will self-sabotage. So there is a certain level, there is a certain amount, there is a certain point that we get to that is in alignment with our identity and who we think we are and what we think we deserve. The second that anything happens that tips us over that point, so it might be like, for example, where everything's going well at work, we're about to get an amazing promotion, our eating is going really well, and we're exercising every day, and we're feeling really great in our bodies, and then we're expanding into this new level of joy and success and happiness, and then all of a sudden it's like this switch flips in our brain, and we're like, oh shit, this is too good to be true, something bad's gonna happen. So we go home and we pick a fight with our spouse that night, right? And all of a sudden our relationship goes to shit. So it's almost like we can't stand the fact that every area of our life could be like running smoothly and could be in harmony and could be going really well, because it doesn't line up with our idea of who we think we are. So as soon as our reality expands beyond our identity and what we think we're worth and the ideas we have about ourselves, as soon as it expands beyond that, we will subconsciously or consciously sometimes contract and do something to sabotage our own happiness, so that we bring ourselves back down to that level of who we think we are, and our external reality matches who we think we are internally. Please let me know if this is making sense. This is like, I think this is one of my first times actually like speaking about this topic. Obviously I've chat to my friends about it all the time, but yeah, I really hope that this is translating for you guys. So it's literally just about acknowledging like, what is your upper limit? Where is the point that you get to in your life of like joy and success and happiness and all these beautiful feelings where you're like, oh my gosh, this is too good to be true. Oh my gosh, I don't deserve this. Oh my gosh, something bad is gonna happen. And that's what that switch flips in your mind, and you contract back. The great news is that you can actually like improve your tolerance for happiness. And it sounds so crazy when I talk about it like this, because it's like your tolerance for happiness, like we actually have to tolerate being happy. But honest to goodness, it's like so many of us are used to living in this state of like total anxiety and total this underlying anxious static that permeates our lives. And I've talked about this in another Facebook Live. Our default setting is almost one of like it's almost one of like this anxiety and this almost like just this, I'm trying to think, like flatline surface, I don't even know what the word is, but it's almost just like our ideas about who we are and our normal state is here, and anything that takes us above that, we're like so not used to it that we do anything to bring ourselves back down to it. And I was so guilty of this. Like I was so uncomfortable being happy for probably like the first maybe year to 6 months, because it didn't really sit well with me. I'd never felt it before, and I was so terrified of it being taken away from me that I continued to sabotage myself. Thankfully, I'm over that hill now, and I'm past that now, and I've gotten to a point where I can fully, like, in my body, just sit with, like, the vibration of joy and happiness and success and peace, and not feel the need to question it or even to try and, like, change it or whatever. So yeah, I'm just trying to think if there's anything else. So yeah, just the thing that we can do to expand our levels of tolerance to happiness and success and joy is to actually just improve our self-worth and turn up our worth meter. So I actually imagine it, sorry, my arm's getting really sore. I actually imagine it like turning up a dial in my mind. So I literally think of like my worth meter, and I imagine myself like turning up the dial so that I can expand into this new realm of like happiness and bliss and peace and joy. I'll also like sometimes it's downloads, like it happens or it happens like involuntarily for me, like I'll get just a sense of myself like expanding, and other times I will like have to, like I'll feel all this energy within me, and then I'll have to like consciously expand so that I can contain that energy. And the way that I do that is just by sitting in meditation, or even just closing my eyes wherever I am, and just imagining my spirit, imagining my essence, my soul, my energy, whatever you want to call it, just like expanding out beyond my body, and just expanding as far as I need it to go to contain this like excitement or joy that I'm feeling. And that's what I mean by conscious expansion. It's just like letting yourself really dream big, and to challenge like all the ideas, and to challenge every like false thought or small idea that you ever had about yourself, and just like acknowledging and really like stepping into the knowledge that you are this incredible infinite being of you know, in like incredible potential, and you are just capable of so much, like more than you could even ever imagine. And when you really tap into that and when you really embody that, it can be really uncomfortable and scary at first, especially when you've spent your whole life thinking that you're insignificant, that you're small, that you're not good enough, that you're inadequate. Whatever it is that you've told yourself in the past, changing that story about yourself does require this like conscious expansion. I just want to see, I've just put here, like, we exist in this cycle of constantly expanding and contracting until we realize that we don't have to contract anymore, right? So we get to a point where we're like, hold on a minute, this cycle's getting a little bit repetitive. What if I didn't have to do this anymore? And that's when we reach a point where we just consciously expand into infinity. I'm not at that point yet. I'll let you know when I get there. That'll be freaking amazing. So just expanding your ideas about what's possible for your life and the world and yourself, and just really making it a practice whenever you're feeling those growing pains and whenever you're feeling that resistance to whatever it is that's going to take you outside your comfort zone and into a new level of bliss and joy and abundance. Just practicing those meditations, that conscious expansion practice, and hopefully that'll really serve you guys. So I am about to head out, and thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. It's been so much fun, as always. If you've got any comments or questions, just leave them below. Working on my new website, should be out in the next probably month or so. And also my e-course is coming up soon, Sex, Self-Love and Spirituality, which I'm so freaking excited about. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your Thursday and a great Friday and a great weekend. But I'll probably be back tomorrow anyway. All right, awesome guys. I love you so, so much. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.